can we use quantitative methods in all the studies, whether it is in the natural science or in the social science? And we also have to remember that, or we can say that it can be noted that the qualitative research, we started in the early 20th century, 21st century, then in the new millennium, say starting with the contribution of Parks and Perkins way back in 1925, and then Malinowski, like sociologies, social anthropologies, and then there are different approaches in social science, like philosophical approach. Can we study philosophy? Can we study this human mind by using quantitative methods? So we can ask so many questions as a result of that, or you can say that different approaches comes up in the last, say, in the last 2 centuries, and in the 60s and the 70s and 80s, different approaches like the structuralism, phenomenology, then feminism or the feminist approach. So many approaches comes up. Because of all these developments, the questions of objectivity in social science research and the methodological contestations has ever increased. As a result of that, we need to be very, very careful. We need to look very, very objectively in every stage of our research. So we all have to remember that when we talk about objectivity, it is not only about the truth. It is not only about the fact. It is not about the conclusions, a neutral conclusion which is free from bias. Actually, it is about a procedures. When we talk about objectivity, it is about the procedures. It is actually a systematic set of technique so that we can minimize the biasness. We can minimize some error or bias or subjectivity. Okay, so let's go to the concept. When we talk about the objectivity, the first and foremost thing is that objectivity is one of the most cherished value of a scientific research. And also remember that objectivity is a as you know, the bias can be from different reasons, or maybe different varieties, or maybe because of various, because of say different variables. Remember that the variables in the social science research are not controllable like in the science. In a science, say for example, whether say a seed can germinate in a particular temperatures within 24 hours or 48 hours or the say 100 hours, they can do it in the controlled temperatures. What is happening in a lab in America can have the same results in India. But in social science, what is happening in America may not necessarily applicable in India at all. Or what is applicable in Japan may not necessarily applicable in India. But in social science research, what I'm trying to say is science, they can control the variables. In social science, we cannot control. Say, for example, ethnic riots, you cannot control. How are you going to study, say, communal riots? Or even the study of, say, for example, like many of the political science, when we do study, say, elections, the way we conduct elections, the way we study elections in America, or the way we study elections in India, even we cannot follow the same patterns. We have to have some kind of a change in the even in the methodology. We cannot. Why I'm saying is basically because when we do study, the variables are differ from place to place because the culture, the outlook, the perspective of the man in that particular society differs. What is applicable in America may not necessarily applicable in India or elsewhere. So this is true, especially when the subject matters of study is man and society. So it is objectivity is generally employed to minimize personal prejudice and bias and to guarantee that social reality will be presented as it is. It means when we do research, we have to come to a conclusions based on our research, not because of our imaginations or interpretations or management by mismanaging or say misinterpreting certain facts. So what I'm trying to say is we all should make an attempt. We means all the social scientists should make an attempt to study or to investigate any issues as much objective as much possible so that we can realize or so that we can achieve the very purpose of social science research. Until we make an attempt to make our research more and more objective, we are not going to contribute the suppose the contribution we are supposed to do in our society. So objectivity means judgment based on observable phenomena. This is where the problem comes in, remember. When I talk about objectivity, it means based on observable phenomena and uninfluenced by emotion or personal prejudice. Remember this. Many of the social scientists, we used to employ observations as a method, observations as a technique to collect our data, to collect our sources. You know, so for example, if you study a particular cultural event of a particular community, you try to observe whether you participate or otherwise. Sometimes certain areas you may miss. Sometimes you may have your own interpretations. And for example, when the British write the ethnography of the northeastern people, they write in the way they observe, in the way they understand. As a result of that, there are many problems even today. That is why the study should be precise. It means whatever study you are undergoing, whatever study you are engaging with, should be precise, it should be unbiased, and it should be open for all. And try to be as honest as possible and ready to listen or ready to take some of the criticism. Because until unless you listen some criticism or until unless you take the viewpoint of others, you will not understand the real problem or the real issues you are handling or you are studying with. So, objectivity means being aware and honest about how one's own belief or value and bias affect the research process. So, basically, when we talk about objectivity, we have to remember that it is about, or you can say, objectivity is basically about to draw a conclusion based on reality or based on facts. So the conclusion should be, in other words, the conclusion should be independent of one's personal belief, whether one likes it or dislikes, or one hopes or otherwise. You know, I may expect certain things, but your data says something else. Then we have to accept that data. Whatever data you collect, you have to accept with it. So objectivity means basically it is a willingness of the scholars, of the investigators, and the ability of his or her to examine the evidence dispassionately and draw a conclusion. It means we all have to be ready. It means we have to do the research willingly, and we should be in a position to examine all the evidence, all the data collected dispassionately, and we have to draw the conclusion based on the evidence we have. So it means objectivity means that conclusion arrived at as a result of inquiry and investigation are independent of one's race or ethnicity or color or even genders or ideology, one's belief, or even the party you belong, or the occupations, or the nationality, or the religion, whatever. Okay, so if your research is truly objective, it is independent of any subjective elements, any personal desire that he or she may have. Whatever it should be free from that. So, the subjective bias in research is a result of adverse influence of personal motive, custom, and social situation. This is what we all have to remember, that when we engage in any research in social science, it may be in the sociology, it may be in public administration, it may be in political studies, or it may be even in the history, or any other, even in economics. What we have to remember that is that the result or our study should not be motivated by our customs, and our even by our race or ethnicity or caste or creed, or even by our say gender. It should not influence by all this. And remember that what are the source of objectivity? There are different sources of subjectivity. Why people are biased? It is because of our selfishness. Why we are biased in our research? Because we are over ambitious. Maybe because of our friendship, maybe because of our relationship with that particular community or particular caste, or maybe particular say custom, or maybe because of that particular religion I belong, or maybe the location, the geographical location I belong. Since I am from the Northeast, since I belong to Manipur, working in Mizoram, I have my own, maybe my own, say, biasness about this reason. When I look at from here to Delhi, or when I use the Northeast as a prism to understand the Indian politics, it may give a very very different kind of a perspective. But if you are stationed, if you look from Delhi, it may have a very very different perspective. That is why we have to be very very careful when we do our research. That is why I'm saying that the community one once belong, the class or the caste or the religions, or even the location you have, or the or even the career you want to, all these sometimes affect objectivity in research. The researchers must strive. It means we have to work on in order to eliminate or in order to minimize the subjectivity uh, as much as possible. That is why I'm saying that the researchers has to overcome his or her subjective judgments. This is one of the most important thing, because why I'm saying like that we should overcome our subjective judgment. If we come up with a kind of subjective judgment, then our conclusion will be biased. Our conclusion will not give you, or will not be the reality. Say, for example, if I look, because I live in a very backward areas, one of the most backward areas of India. Say, I'm in the periphery. If I look from Mizoram or if I look from Manipur, then India is living say maybe 50 years backward as compared with Europe, because say Manipur, Mizoram is yet to be connected with even with the railway heads. Say for example, but if you look from Gujarat or from Mumbai, then you have this the Prime Minister of India is talking about the bullet train. But on the other side, on the opposite side of that region, I'm talking about the western region like Gujarat or the Mumbai or the Maharashtra. But if you look at the eastern most like Manipur or the Mizoram, the periphery or the borders with the Myanmar or the Bangladesh, even the railway is not connected to the capitals of the states. If I look from this perspective, India is India is not even the even at par with some of the backward countries of the Europe. I can draw conclusion. If I draw conclusion in that line, then I may be very very subjective. So I have to look not only from Mizoram or Manipur. I have also consider when I try to draw a conclusion. I also think of what is happening in other part of the country. It may be from say Gujarat, or it may be from Delhi, or it may be the say Andhra Pradesh, or it may be from Tamil Nadu. I also have to consider all these areas so that I can understand the reality of India. That is why I'm saying we should try to overcome these subjective judgments when we do any kind of research or when we engage any social science research. And why objectivity is very, very important in social science. Remember first, we have to remember that it may be very, very difficult to maintain a complete objectivity in social science. But we also have to remember that we have to work towards achieving complete objectivity. That is why I'm saying, though complete objectivity is not possible, maybe impossible in social science, but we have to aim at it. We should work to attain as much as possible, reasonably possible. That is why I'm saying objectivity is a necessary condition for the conduct of all scientific inquiry. We all know that 100% objectivity may be very, very difficult in social science research. But we should work, we should try, we should aim to achieve 100%. If we don't aim at it, then our research will not be a scientific inquiry. People will question our conclusion. People will say, oh, that their studies, the social science studies, social science research are very, very biased. So the second is, viewing inquiry as subjective or as an entirely individual matter would be the exclusion of all criticism. What does it mean? What I'm trying to say is, we have to open to all. Let the world criticize, let the world study and give their views. We should be ready to understand. We need to open up. Honestly, we have to do our study. The moment we ignore objectivity, our study will be a kind of will be subjective plus. The whole debate of rationality will be totally gone. That is why we have to have a kind of a rational debate. We should allow to have a rational debate. We should allow to have a proper discussion. That is why we need to open up. If we ignore objectivity, or if we deny, or if we allow subjectivity, then our thesis, our proposition or hypothesis, or the objective that the study you want to put forth, it will not go to the directions you are looking for. That is why I'm saying ignoring objectivity would be the denial of thesis. What type of thesis? It is the intellectuals, your intellectual capacity. You're denying the rational unity of mankind, which opens the door to irrationalism and elitism. If you don't allow to do objective study, it means basically you are not, or you're giving or opening the door of irrationalism. It means you are opening the door for subjectivity. If you close the door for criticism, it means you're going toward irrationalism. So we all have to open up, we all have to allow a kind of a critical inquiry of our own study. That is why sometimes we also have to remember that the review of literatures, a thorough review of literatures is a must. A critique of that particular study, a particular area of your choice is a must. So why we need objectivity? Remember, objectivity is a procedure. As I said in the beginning, it is a more systematic state. So objectivity in social science or in natural science is not a truth, but it is a procedures or a set of technique which help researchers to minimize the subjectivity and make the research study more rational and neutral. This is what we all have to remember, that when we talk about objectivity, it is a procedures, it is a set it is a set of the technique, it is a procedure set of technique. What type of technique? Objectivity will minimize the subjectivity of your research. By doing or by minimizing the subjectivity, our study will be more rational. Our conclusion will be more, say, neutral. It is very, very important that the conclusion we draw should be neutral, should be based on facts, should be based on logic, reason, rational. That is why when we talk about objectivity, there are two sense. In the first sense, objectivity is all about truth and scientific realism. Remember, if you remember, say for example, behavioralism, the whole argument of David Easton's about the quantitative research. Even the behavioralism, there were so many critics that allowed the whole idea of David Easton's idea, or the behavioralism is about scientific studies or scientific realism. But even that, there's so many criticisms posed on it. As a result of that, the idea of post-behaviorism comes into. So what I'm trying to say is, when we talk about objectivity, there are two sense, or we can understand objectivity from two perspectives. The first one is objectivity is all about truth and scientific realism. Secondly, objectivity is taken as a mode or a procedures of inquiry. So these two perspectives we have to remember when we talk about objectivity. Is about the truth and scientific realism. On the other side, it is also a mode or a procedures of inquiry. How we are going to study, how we are going to design our research. So objectivity will be very much. Objectivity will be, if you want to, like, say, control subjectivity, and if you want to make your research more objective, then from the design onwards, your methodology, your design of your research is something which is very, very important. So, for example, if I study my own community, then I may not able to see the drawback or what is ills in my own society. Then what should I do? Then I should ask to other community. I have to ask to other community. How do you look at what are the problem, what are the drawback, or what are the issues in my society? So there are different ways. That's why I'm saying the methodology, particularly the design, the research design is something which is very, very important. If you want to minimize subjectivity, and if you want to promote objectivity, or if you want to do an objective study, then your research design have to be very, very careful. Particularly the data collections, how to do the design and how to collect data and how to process it. These are something which is very, very, very important. Then, what are the problems we face in social science research when it comes to objectivity? The first, social scientist is a part of human society. Remember, you and me are part of our society. As a result of that, our judgments are normally very, very subjective because we are biased, or we love our society, we love our community, we love our say culture, or we love our religion. As a result of that, we tend to be more biased because of our love, because of our affectionate with our own community, our own culture, or even our own ideology. That is why sometimes people are very, very critical of another ideology or another community. The subject matters of social science research is complex. Remember this. Whatever we are engaging with is something which is very, very complex because there may be different even solutions for a particular problem. So, for example, as I said, the developments in India is not even, or you can say uneven developments in the country. So, for example, as I said, in some part of the country, people are talking about the bullet train. In some part of the country, people are not even seeing railway heads. What does it mean? It means the penetrations of the country, or the development is so uneven. We talk about say medical science, say for example, but in many parts of the country, even in a district, there is no hospital. In many districts of India, there is no hospital even. A proper medical college is not there in different district of India, say for example. Or say there are many areas where there is no proper college or university, for example. If you look from the development perspective, if you look from the development perspective, then how can we study, or how can we study the political development, or how can we understand the economic development of our society? Or if you study the caste, if you study the religion, it's very, very complex. See, that is why even the Supreme Court takes how many years to settle the Ayodhya issues. Even the court could not able to settle within a month, or a year or 2 or 10 years. It takes years to settle. It is because of the complexity of our society, because of the complex nature of our society. That is why it sometimes is very, very difficult to maintain our objectivity in our own research. All members of the society have a different values. As I said, my value. So, for example, my value of my community, the value is so huge. Similarly, you may like your society, you may like your religion so much. You may be very fond of your caste system. All these affect in our research. Social scientists fail to achieve objectivity because sometimes the respondents, remember, respondents are human beings. They do have their own problems. As a result of that, sometimes they don't respond properly, or they refuse to respond, or sometimes they are reluctant to respond. Particularly in India, when it comes to the say feminism, when it comes to gender studies, when it comes to the sexual crime in India, it's very, very difficult because the victim don't want to disclose everything. Sometimes they're reluctant. That is why there are many things. If we talk about religion, also it's the same thing. It is very, very difficult for some people to disclose or to tell the truth, even if they want to, because they may be backfire. People may chase them out from their community, or some people may even try to like threaten them. As a result of that, sometimes social scientists, it's very difficult for the scientists to study certain issues in a very objective way. All this problem, as I mentioned above, like our own gender issues, our own religion, our own caste, or ethnic, or race, or the color, or the locations, because of all these, sometimes our study is not as objective as we wish to. So coming to these factors affecting, it is very difficult, as I say, to achieve objectivity. Why? As I said, this is because of the personal prejudice and bias. So, for example, when I say personal prejudice and bias, or value judgment, or ethical dilemma, here I'm talking about, say, for example, if you want to study, say, for example, about your community, or if you want to study about, say, for example, the role of religion in politics, say, for example, sometimes the topic you are studying, the area you are studying, or the problem you are trying to study, it also affects your objectivity in research. Why I'm saying so is basically because it is believed that cultural values and beliefs are deeply rooted, and that particular community has a strong attachment with these cultural values and beliefs. As a result of that, sometimes it affects our own study. That is why sometimes if you are studying your own community, if you're studying your own religion, or your own, even your own, say locality, sometimes, say, for example, if you study political science, if you study about, say, Panchayati Raj system in your own locality, then sometimes you try to avoid about the issues of the, say, women's representations, political participation of women, because as we all know, the one-third reservation of women is becoming a joke. The husband used to go even to attend the panchayat, the gram sabha and all, not by the representative. So all these people don't want to report. People don't want to like disclose. That's why I'm saying sometimes because of our personal prejudice, maybe because of our value judgment, or maybe because of our ethical dilemma. When we do any kind of research, if we consider, if we allowed to overtake by our personal agenda, then your research or my research will be more subjective than objective. Another issue, as I said, as I mentioned also, complexity of social phenomena. In a society like us, when I say in a society like us, Indian society, you look at, after 75 years of India's independence, we are talking about the thing, Uniform Civil Code. The debate is still going on. If you want to study on the Uniform Civil Code, see, different religions have a different issues. The Muslim will have a different agenda, the Hindu will have a different agenda, the Christian will have a different agenda, other religion will have a different agenda. So it's very complex. That is why we cannot able to solve. That is why we have this Article 371 even today. We have so many issues. Similarly, even if we study the political studies also, the role of caste in Indian politics, we are yet to do a proper study even today, objectively I meant. I'm not saying all, but many of these studies are biased. It's very subjective. It's basically because of our personal judgments, because of our value in the society. The cultural value in our society sometimes play a very crucial role in our research. Or even, as I say, the genders. Remember, genders play a very important, because in the last 20-30 years, the whole idea of feminism changed the perspective of studies in social studies, whether it is in sociology, whether it is in political science, it totally changed. Because our society is basically patriarchal. So if a woman study, if a feminist study our society, then, and if a man study our society, their conclusions are normally different. That is why I'm saying it's very, very complex. Next is about the research, cultural belief and value. As I said before also, the cultural belief and the value play a very, very crucial role in our research, in our judgment, even choosing our own topic. Sometimes your research area, when you choose your research area, sometimes people consider all this. When we consider about, when we're about to pick up a particular project or a particular study, we consider from where I belong or from where I come from, which religion you belong. So because of all this, we cannot able to study our research in a proper manner. As a result of that, our studies are basically subjective rather than objective. And remember, last but not the least, no peculiar method of research in social science. Why I'm saying no peculiar method of research in social science? Remember, in the natural, they have a particular methods to conduct research. In social science, we don't have. It's basically because social scientists deals with human actions. We deal with human behaviors or social problems. Why I'm saying is basically because, say for example, as I said in the beginning, say suppose if we want to study election in India, state elections, say for example, in the November, December, I think around 5 states will be facing elections, or the election commission of India is going to conduct elections in 5 states of India. You cannot follow one method to study all these states. You need to understand different factors or the variables. So, for example, in Rajasthan or in Madhya Pradesh, you may be in a position to follow the same methodology, but you cannot adopt that one when it comes to Mizoram. Mizoram also will have the elections this year in November, December, along with Madhya Pradesh or the Rajasthan and others. But you cannot, because this is a very, very different society. So you cannot adopt even one particular method. Even if you want to study a particular thing, you need to have at least some kind of a change in your methodology. So likewise, we have multiple methods, but we don't follow the same methodology even when we study a particular phenomena, a particular social phenomena, or particular political phenomena, or particular political development. We have different kind of methods, or we adopt or we employ different methods. As a result of that, the results differ. As I said, if you want to study election in China, you cannot adopt the same thing in India, because these are two different political cultures. The two countries are having different political cultures. You cannot. Even if you want to study, even if you, as I said, even if you want to study the elections in a democratic countries like let's say European countries like say Britain, you cannot adopt the same methods because of, as I'm saying, because of different culture, and then the behaviors of the people, the social as well as the political behaviors are very, very different. As a result of that, it is very, very difficult for us for all the social scientists, very, very difficult for us to do research in a more objective manner. Then what are the steps to be taken to ensure some kind of objectivity? If the social scientist wants to study, say, ought to be, then there is a problem. What we have to do is we have to study what it is. Then some kind of subjectivity can be minimized. But if you want to study what ought to be, it's very, very, very difficult for us. And it is also very, very important for all of us to be trained as a social scientist with proper technique. It is very, very important to train social scientists, including me and all of us. We need to be trained properly. Say, for example, nowadays the Western countries are more prone of using the quantitative methodology than qualitative. But the Eastern countries, particularly India, subcontinent, and others, we still use qualitative more than quantitative in our social science research. So, for example, if you are from political science, if you open the American political science journals, then it's all about quantitative. You cannot publish any qualitative studies based in America. Most of them, it's very, very difficult. It's really, really difficult. It's basically because our methodology, our methods are very, very different from them. The way they engage in research is very different from us. That is why we also have to understand, or we have to be trained with proper scientific, mechanism. Like, say, now we have to be thorough with SPSS, for example, where at least we have to understand the Excel, how to use Excel in our research. Particularly, what I'm trying to say is now social scientists also have to use computers and the recent developments or the recent technique, statistical technique in research. If not, we cannot maintain or we cannot minimize subjectivity in our research. So research must be taken in a very, very transparent, honest, and open manner, and should be subject to critique. Remember this, we should open up for everybody so that they can give their comments or they can give their own perspective so that we can correct it, so that we can understand, okay, how people look at my study or how people understand my conclusions. A social scientist should not advocate for a particular value. Remember this, we are not supposed to advocate a particular value. I'm not supposed to say promote only liberalism, or I'm not supposed to promote say Marxist ideology, or I'm not supposed to promote any kind of ideology or political party or any others. I'm not supposed to promote any kind of a value. Rather, I'm supposed to be more neutral. That is why in social science, the whole debate of the value neutral or all this comes in because of all this. Okay. So last but not the least, I want to say that complete objectivity is still an elusive goal in social science. But what we can do is we should take objectivity as a set of technique so that our result will be more objective and minimize subjectivity as much as possible. So a social scientist should always make an attempt to achieve objectivity as much as reasonably possible by applying the appropriate technique or techniques of research and follow the research protocol. This is what I want to share with you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir,
Thank you, sir.
you have completed every aspect of the.
Because it's not audible.
Now, sir, I'm audible, sir.
Now, sir, I'm.
Yeah, yeah.
So thank you so much, sir. Uh,
So thank you so much, sir.
you have
You have
covered every step and every.
covered every
You have
and
also included
every.
every
You have also included every
argument to related the topic, sir.
argument
And
related to topic,
in
sir.
this lectures,
And
many
in
teachers
this
and
lectures,
many
many teachers
scholars
and many
had
scholars
joined this. So
had joined this.
thank you
So
to all.
thank you.
As I can see on the screen,
As I can see on the screen,
Professor Manohar
Professor
sir and Professor
Manohar
Sunita
sir
Yadav madam
and Professor
and Dr.
Sunita Yadav
Sarmita ji
madam and
are
Dr.
also
Sarmita ji
joined
are
this
also
session.
joined this session. So, any participants have any doubt, any questions? So, without hesitation, you can
If
ask to
anybody have
sir.
any doubt, any question.
If anybody have any doubt, any question.
Yeah, I'll be happy to take a couple of questions if there is any.
Yes, 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 yes. Anybody have any questions?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes. Anybody have any question?
Kuldeep ji, am I audible?
Kuldeep ji, am I audible? Am I audible? हाँ, विकास जी.
Okay. और किसी का
Okay. Am I audible, sir? और
हाँ
किसी का
yes yes हाँ yes yes
हाँ, yes,
Nisma
yes,
ji yes
and
you can ask.
yes, yes, yes. Yes, sir.
Yes.
सर क्वेरी तो कोई ऐसी नहीं है, लेकिन मैं सर के लिए एक बात बोलना चाहूंगा कि ऑब्जेक्टिविटी ऐसा टॉपिक है जो काफी मतलब वैसे आसान लगता है लेकिन समझने में बड़ा मुश्किल भी होता है, बट सर ने बहुत ही क्रिस्प तरीके से टू द पॉइंट तरीके से इतना अच्छे से समझाया है कि उसमें काफी अच्छी क्लैरिटी आई है। हमको लगता था कि इसमें कितना लिखा जाएगा, लेकिन सर का आज जो लेक्चर रहा वो बहुत ही फ्रूटफुल रहा। इतने अच्छे तरीके से हम सोच भी नहीं रहे थे कि ऑब्जेक्टिविटी को इतने बढ़िया तरीके से पढ़ सकते हैं। हमको लगता था थोड़ी सी बात है, इसको इतने में समझ करके तुम कर दिया जाए। तो सर वेरी वेरी थैंक यू फ्रॉम द कोर ऑफ माय हार्ट। एंड विकास सर के लिए भी बहुत बहुत साधुवाद। सर आप इस तरह की ये ऑर्गेनाइज करते रहते हैं मीटिंग, और हम चाहेंगे सर प्लीज जितना संभव हो सके ऐसे ही विद्वान लोगों को लाइए सर, और बढ़िया से हमें टाइम टू टाइम किसी ना किसी टॉपिक पे ऐसे जानकारी दिलाते रहिए। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर।
So sir,
Most
Bhisma
welcome,
Datta ji
Samita.
is saying
Am
that.
I audible?
Yes yes
I,
yes yes madam
am I
yes madam.
audible? I mean, yeah, my data is not very good. I'm not switching on my video. Am I audible?
No
Yes,
no
yes.
Sarmita madam
Go ahead,
Sarmita madam.
Samita.
Okay.
Yes ma'am
Yes,
yes ma'am yes ma'am.
yes. Hope you're fine, Vikas. Sir, yes, it was an interesting session. I have, if there would have been some more examples, like I'm just talking about my own research area, where I'll have to do survey with organic farmers and inorganic farmers. So it's about comparison in the Konkan belt of Maharashtra. I live in Navi Mumbai, so I'll be doing research, my survey in 3 districts of Maharashtra. So in this context, you spoke about objectivity. So because I will be interviewing and talking to about 240 farmers, like 120 farmers are organic farmers and 120 are the ones who use chemicals, the inorganic farmers. So in this particular context, will this question of objectivity and subjectivity arise? I mean, I have to talk to them, and where will the biasness arise in my in the conclusion that I arrive at, or in the when I'm doing the survey, when maybe I am not